Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Indexer Office Hours. Today is the 30th of September, and this is Indexer Office Hours 227. Let me just grab the agenda there. Usually Juan does that, but he's not with us today, so where I have a billion and one screens. Let me just quickly find it. Where are you? Here we are. Okay. 227. Here we go. Perfect. And if anyone is new to Indexer Office Hours, this is the town square where graph ecosystem participants come together and discuss the most important and relevant topics for indexers. Today is a conversation, and we do love participation. So feel free to get involved in today's conversation. We're going to have a very exciting chat about Horizon, all things Horizon. I know that that's something folks have been wanting to hear about, and we've been sprinkling little bits of alpha and information about this, but today will be the day we do a larger update. So very much looking forward to that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat box, or feel free to unmute your mic and I will help you out with your microphone if you have any issues there. As a reminder, this session is going to be recorded and posted onto public channels like YouTube. So if you are concerned about privacy, please do bear that in mind. And with that, let's get into today's exciting agenda. I will be handing over to Carlos for our regularly scheduled report section.
Hello everyone, welcome back again to Report Watch. This week there's a lot of releases, in part because there's some hard forks ahead. So I'm going to start by the most urgent ones, I think. So Red has released both a major version during this week and already a patch version fixing a critical issue. So we're now at 1.8.1, and this one is an upgrade that you want to do before the hard fork. We have Streaming Fast releasing FireEats 2.13.2, and also Firehose Ethereum has new images both for Polygon and Get. So for Polygon, at least, it's a minor version bump. So we're now at 2.3.0. This tool should also be reasonably urgent to update. And we have the actually Upstream Gets patch version 1.16.4 now. It's a small update. We have a new patch version for Arbitrum Nitro as well. We're now at 3.7.4. There's nothing too urgent here, but it's good to get the latest bug fixes and optimizations. We have AIMDAL v2 is now at 0.4.0. So this one you probably have updated already. If not, you definitely should check your deployments and update. At least for test, most of these versions, if you're running test nets, they will already have broken. If you have not updated before, bear that in mind. The mainnet artworks will actually come soon. For Consensus Layer client, we have a new Prism version. We're now at 6.1.1. Also, a critical update. Techo is now at 25.9.3. It's the patch version. Update this one, not as urgent. Nimbus is now at 25.9.2. So there's been two patch versions over this week, and it's in preparation for the hard fork as well. Finally, moving on to GraphStack, we do have releases this week. We have both Tap Agent and Service releases. So Tap Agent is now 1.11.0, and Service is now 1.7.0, and the changes are related to Horizon. So I'm sure you'll hear more about that coming soon. And to terminate Rapid Watch on Launchpad Stack, this week we've had releases for charts. So covering ProxyD, Nimbus, AIMDAL v2, GraphNode, Aragon, Arbitrum Nitro, and Arbitrum Classic all have new stable chart releases that, at least for a few days ago, were all the latest upstream releases. Now there's a few more to roll out. Since Uwa is not here with us, I will move on to Protocol Watch. The thing standing out here, I think, is a new dispute, but it's nothing new. It's a repeated offense of something that's been covered before, which is this indexer closing charts, closing subgraphs that are not at 100% with cloned POIs from other indexers. There's been a new open dispute now, and nothing was standing out too much for me. I'll leave one next week to fill you guys in if I'm missing something important. So, and that's it this week for Repo Watch and Protocol Watch.
Perfect. We do hand it off to Kate next. So if you got any updates, Kate, feel free to share.
Very similar to where we were at last week. It looks like we're still working through the governance process for getting rewards for 𝗨𝗂𝗟𝗶 and 𝗨𝘀𝗲𝗂𝗧 and Unichain as well. The important update I did share last week that 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗃 is shutting down imminently. They'll be shut down as of October 15th. We are aware that because they're in the process of shutting down, folks are removing their assets from that chain, and so there's less transactions. And so I know that there was an issue over the weekend where it stopped producing blocks. So we are looking to expedite that process and get that deprecation through as quickly as possible. I will keep everyone posted, but there's not a lot of activity from what I understand from our indexer community on that chain, but still we don't want other issues to affect we don't want that issues with that chain to negatively affect other chains. So we're actively working on it, and I'll keep everybody posted. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some more data regarding potential CIP chains now that we are moving away from Q3 into Q4. So I'll keep y'all posted and hopefully have some more fresh updates soon.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for the updates there. Mickey, I see that you've just posted a note there. So if you want to maybe just address what's going on there with the read only and forum discussion, in case that's relevant for people.
Oh, sure. Yeah, Carlos's update just reminded me of that. It wasn't a great experience for us or people reporting arbitration related issues to have some of that discussion happen here in Discord, but the bulk of the back and forth and resolution happened on the forum. And in chatting with the arbitration team, I think the intent was always for those discussions to be happening on the forum solely. So we made the arbitration channel read only, and that's a good question about if updates from the forum can be pushed into the arbitration channel here in Discord. I think the answer is no, but I'll confirm that. Yeah, happy to confirm that. So just a small process update with the intent of trying to get all arbitration-related conversations exclusively in the forum.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing the updates there in relation to that there. And also thank you so much, guys, for all of the sections right there. I see. Don't think this one's okay. Cool, got it. Okay, amazing. So let's move on to the next section that we have. I see that Gemma was typing there, so feel free to type in whatever you want in relation to that topic, so we can get that addressed for you. But if not, yeah, let's move on to the next section. We have the good fortune of having Tomas with us from Edge and Node, who will be going through his presentation as relates to Horizon. We have been teasing this update, as I said, for a while now, so it feels very good to be able to share a larger update. And so I'm sure this conversation is going to lead to a lot of questions, and so hopefully we can get them answered for you. Without further ado, Tomas, feel free to take it away.
Cool, thanks. Let me start sharing. Okay, that should be... Can you see my screen? Is the screen coming up?
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah. Okay. Get into it then. First, thanks for having me. I think it's been a while since I joined or presented here. So it's nice to be back. Today, I want to talk about Horizon. Horizon is upon us, finally. The long-awaited and very anticipated upgrade to the protocol. It's happening finally. So the idea today is first we'll go through like a very quick refresher of what Horizon is and what the goals are and why we are doing this. And then the idea is to focus on what the upgrade process, like the rollout of this upgrade is going to look like and what the impact for indexers specifically is going to be. So that's more or less the agenda or the the three things that I want to cover today. This is I put together these slides to help with the conversation, but feel free to as usual interrupt and ask questions. I'll try to give me 1 second. I try to get here it is, the chat as well, so I can keep an eye on that. Perfect. So I usually start these presentations with a bunch of links to like previous GIPs, forum posts, in general, like resources to expand on Horizon and what we are going to discuss. I think this time this is the most important slide for indexers. So this is like if you want to drop off after this slide, as long as you focus on this and you click that link and read that guide, I'm happy. The main thing that I'm sharing here is what we wrote this upgrade guide for indexers, and it contains first a section with a couple of documents, kind of like a pre-read material that go over like Horizon and a few of the new concepts introduced with Horizon. We strongly recommend that you go through that pre-read section. There is as you can see here on the right, there's like a bare minimum amount of documents that I think you should read. It's not a lot really, it should take like 15 minutes. But I think it's very important to understand what you as an indexer will be doing next and to understand what is changing and why. So I think that's very, very important. And then the rest of the guide is mostly like an explainer on how and what is changing for indexers, and finally like a sort of like a step-to-step guide on what needs to happen, what actions are required from the indexer stack point of view. So upgrade to version XYZ. There are new configuration variables. Stuff like more like operative stuff, which to a certain extent it will depend on how you deploy and how you manage your Horizon stack. There are different ways, but I tried to describe in general what needs to happen, and then you can take it from there. Okay, so again, this is the most important thing I want you to as an indexer to take away from this conversation and from any hype around Horizon or any link you see anywhere. This is the most important one. So if you are running an indexer, yeah, that's the link during the chat. So good. Perfect. So with that out of the way, quick overview of what Graph Horizon is. As I mentioned before, Horizon is an upgrade to the entire protocol. If we start by taking a look at a very simplified diagram for what the current version of the protocol is, we have indexers on one end and data consumers, people that want to send query data. on the other end, and in the middle we have like this protocol, which is essentially doing three different things. It's providing staking mechanisms to ensure like economic security on the protocol. It's providing like a payment system for users to be able to pay for the queries that they consume, and it supports mainly the subgraph use case. It's the protocol was designed with the subgraph use case in mind, and that's very apparent when you look at the protocol contracts code. These three components of the protocol are very, very tightly coupled. That's what makes changing anything very complex. What makes adding new cases very complex, because there's like a butterfly effect, and anything that you touch might impact the entire protocol. So that's, I would say, like what has hindered progress on the network, on the protocol. Like the biggest thing that has prevented us to move faster. If you think of substreams or new data services, new use cases different from subgraphs that we wanted to have on the network, and if you think how long it took us to even partially support them on the protocol, this is the reason why, and this is what we are trying to change with Horizon. So this is like the simplified view of Horizon. Again, what the upgrade really does, it breaks apart those three components that I mentioned earlier, the staking part, the payments part, and the subgraph specific functionality. And what it does, it creates like these core like sub protocols in a way, the staking and the payments sub protocols, and it exposes those to arbitrary data services that can be built on top of that. Think of it like sort of like an API type of thing, where it's very easy to build a data service. In this case, like you can see, like three different data services. One is subgraph data service, which is like the to support the subgraph use case, what we have today. But then you can have others, right? And those are like independent. They all rely on the same like primitives that the Horizon core provides, which is again like staking and paying for queries or for any type of similar things. But they're all independent, and this like composability and this like independence is hopefully what will allow to be more efficient when changing things, be more like ship faster, and help us get into like a new era where we can support more data services within the same core protocol, and that hopefully also lends itself into more value accrued for GRT. So yeah, like this is like a very high level overview of what Horizon is. This slide is trying to highlight the impact of the upgrade, like of the Horizon upgrade. If you think of what components are changing, like we are changing pretty much everything except GraphNode. The rest of the components are all changing. Like some have like very small changes, some have massive changes, like obviously the protocol design on the smart contracts. But pretty much all of the rest of the components, which there are a lot, and like as you can see in this image, but even like Gateway, which you have here, Gateway is like three different components. So it's really like a massive undertaking, and it has been, I think almost 2 years in the making now. And the reason is this, right? It's very complex. We've had 3 different audits for the contract changes because of how sensible and how risky an upgrade of this nature can be. I think a good or important thing to highlight is that we are upgrading the current protocol. Like, we are not deploying a new one from scratch. That would have been 10 times easier probably. But for network effects, we decided we upgrade the current one. So yeah, this has been very complex, but we are almost on the other side. It required help and work from multiple core devs. So it was also like a very very taxing in terms of coordination efforts and interactions between all the components. It's been a really massive project. I would say even bigger than the original launch of the protocol. So yeah, with that quick intro out of the way, I want to focus now on the rollout plan for the upgrade. This diagram is part of the it's included in like the pre-read material back a few slides on that indexer guide I shared, and it's also like has some text explaining it a bit more, but I wanted to show it here. The x-axis is time, obviously, and then you can see like all the different things or actions that happen throughout the upgrade. I think for this call, it's relevant to focus on like the upgrade phases, like not the stages that you see, 0, 1, and 2. The most relevant thing, I think, for indexers are like phases. And like as you can see, again, this upgrade will require like several actions from different teams or core devs. It's mostly core devs and Graph Council. Their council has to execute some transactions in order to allow us to move to the next phase. So that's why you see, this phase 1, 2, and 3. But in terms of, indexer, what indexers need to know, the indexer's involvement happens on phase 3. As the blue sticker thing here on the top that says Graph Horizon, that's meant to signal when Horizon is live. So going from phase 3 to phase 4 is when the actual smart contracts are upgraded, and when you can say that's like the Horizon Genesis, if you will. And again, there's a bunch of previous work that needs to be done, and that includes indexers, obviously. Specifically for indexers, once we start this phase 3 at some point, this is like phase 1, 2, and 3. It's likely to happen all within like the same day or two. But once we are done with those first 3 phases, like we will announce that, and that will start a window of time. It's likely going to be 2 or 3 weeks, where indexers are going to have to upgrade their components. They will need to upgrade to these new versions of indexer stack. So that's like indexer agent, service, and top agent. Those new components are going to support both the, let's say, legacy network, like the current version of the protocol, but they will also support Horizon. So they're going to be backwards compatible. And the idea is that when you upgrade, like you maybe have still 3 weeks of legacy network to go before the upgrade. So the stack is going to support both modes of operation. So that's important to note, because it means that we need to obviously support both use cases. We obviously need to test both use cases, right? During phase 3, the stack needs to work with the legacy network, so we need to test that. And during phase 4 and onwards, the stack needs to work with Horizon, right? So both things are important. Both things will or can affect indexer operations if they are not done properly. I see a question in the chat. Is the gateway going to support both legacy and Horizon during the transition? No, the gateway will work in, let's say, legacy mode until the moment we upgrade it. And from then onwards, the gateway will work on Horizon mode. You will still be able to send, tap receipts from before Horizon to the gateway and change them for, essentially collect any fees that you have. But the new gateway will stop sending queries to old stack versions. And I'm going to touch on that in a few slides again. Is that going to cause outages to customers? It shouldn't. If like the way it could cause outages if no one upgrades, like if no indexers upgrade. Yeah, I'm gonna touch on that a bit later. So where was I? Okay, so again, phase 3 and phase 4 are like the important milestones for indexers. And again, we will give like a 2 or 3 week window where the indexers should upgrade their components. Yeah, I'm fine with questions, 𝗨𝗀𝗧. Yeah, I try to keep an eye on questions as well to make this more interactive.
Perfect. Thank you so much for confirming.
Cool. Right. Will there be? Oh yeah, network subgraph. Good point. I was forgetting about that. So if you take a look at the steps here, one of them says on phase 3, deploy temporary Horizon network subgraph. On the long run, like the same network subgraph will support Horizon because the new stack will only work with a Horizon compatible subgraph. What we have to do is like temporarily deploy this like parallel subgraph, if you will, that support Horizon, while the official one continues to be like the current version. And then eventually those two will merge. So if you look here, like it says deploy temporary Horizon, and then part of the instructions on the indexer guide will say, okay, your new stack, you need to point it at the temporary Horizon subgraph. Eventually, once those two subgraphs converge, which will be on phase 4, like you can point to either subgraph, that will be fine, and we will continue to maintain both for a period of time so that like no one's left behind. But that's an important consideration. Like we will have this temporarily parallel subgraph for a while, and that's important because the Horizon stack will not work with the current subgraph. And we could have upgraded the subgraph earlier, but that meant breaking things like Explorer before the Horizon upgrade. So that was a lot more cumbersome to pull off. So we decided to go with this temporal. What's the plan for curation on the new subgraph? Good question. So we have the upgrade indexer should pick that up, but we will be monitoring and like by we I mean like the protocol team from EdgeNode. We will add signal to the new subgraph if it's required. That's one of the things that we will keep a close eye on, because obviously, we need that. Thinking about the questions. Cool. Gemma, the indexer stack won't let you point to both, so you will have to choose one or the other. Cool. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of the rollout plan.
Can I just ask a question live so that other indexers have a chance? I just want to see what people think about this. So I'm quite reliant. Wave 5 is very reliant on indexer tools to be able to manage like 2,000 subgraphs or whatever. So I'm interested to know First of all, well, I know I've already pinged Vincent about it, so I know Vincent will at some point be working on upgrading indexer tools for Horizon, but it won't necessarily happen in lockstep with this. So there'll be a period of time where I need to manage thousands of subgraphs, and I haven't done that in a spreadsheet in a very long time. So I'm interested to know how other people are doing it. If anyone else has got spreadsheets they're using to do that would work, manually in a case where we need to continue to manage that many subgraphs as we transition over and before the tools catch up.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I have used indexer tools. I think you're referring to Vincent's tool.
Yep.
And I've even contributed some minor changes. So with that knowledge, I think there shouldn't be many changes to the tool that are going to be required. But I'm very open on working with Vincent and helping to get that ready, so that we don't have to rely on workarounds or anything like that. So likely, once we upgrade the testnet, we can definitely look at that. I don't know if the tools allows, the deployment allows you to point to a different environment, but yeah, I'd say I'll talk to Vincent and see and try and help there so that there's no problem there, no outage.
I was definitely talking about Horizon, Vincent, like using indexer tools once we've moved over and we're now managing, well, we want to manage allocations in the new data service.
Yeah, for the most part, it should work. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll just need to kind of see what that looks like if there's allocations that are being added to non-subgraphs. Take RPC as just kind of a simple example. If we were to place an allocation towards some type of an RPC data service, we'll just need to kind of factor what does that look like, and how Signal works on that data service, or how the inflationary rewards are kind of moving to those different services. And so that will be kind of a bigger upgrade than just the subgraph allocations. But in the initial stage, the subgraph allocations should flow through pretty nicely.
That's good to know. Thanks, Derek.
Yeah, I agree. Gemma, yes, Horizon initially is going to be only the subgraph service, but hopefully soon after we'll have other data services. And the QoS subgraph will be the same. Yeah, all the other subgraphs like EBO, what else is there? The SAO, like all of that is unchanged. Okay. Right. So now I want to focus specifically on impact for indexers, though we've been covering that a bit now. During phase 3, again, this is kind of like a very simple summary of what the indexer guide I linked at the beginning will walk you through. But during phase 3, and as a reminder, this is like the phase previous to the actual upgrade. Indexers need to upgrade their stack, right? There are some configuration changes, new variables. You need to point the subgraph to the temporary subgraph, all of that. And there's also like a small amount of prep work in preparation for phase 4. And really the only important thing here is that when phase 4 begins, so when the Horizon upgrade is live, the important thing is that you have 100K, this is incorrect, like not up to, but 100K specifically or more of unallocated stake needs to be available for the indexer stack to be able to run and do all the automatic setup for you on the new data, on the new subgraph service. So this is important. Again, the guide goes through this and I'm going to talk a bit more about this in a few slides, but important considerations are these. Then once phase 4 starts, once the upgrade is live, well, you need to just restart all the components. So when they reboot, they switch into Horizon mode, let's say. And there is some automatic migration will happen as long as you have that 100K available. And there is most of the setup will be automated, like in terms of migration. So that's nice, but it also depends on how you manage allocation, like how you do allocation management. So be sure to go through the guide, which hopefully covers all of these scenarios. And the other, I guess, notable thing to mention here is that delegation parameters are one of the few things I think that are not automatically migrated. So you will need to go back to the Explorer and manually set those. Initially, they are set to 0, I think. So that means nothing goes to delegators. Okay, let me look at the questions. Access data service. Was Horizon the last dependency for launching DIPS BP, or is there still work to be done there? So Horizon is a dependency for DIPS. I think it's not a dependency for the MVP, but I might be wrong. So I'm unsure on that, sorry. Okay, I see Miguel already. Yeah, cool. Okay, so next slide. Right. So now, again, most of the stuff I'm gonna talk about now is already covered in the guide, but I wanted to be very explicit about the things because it's where I think I expect to see problems, like common pitfalls that I think that we'll experience with the indexer community. If you follow the guide, down to a T, I think you should not run into any of these scenarios. But again, this is a complex system, and unexpected things might happen. So first, what happens if you don't upgrade your indexer stack and Horizon goes live? So the first thing is you will not be able to create new allocations. Any existing allocations that you have, you will be able to close them, but you won't be able to create new ones. The indexer stack will revert. It will fail when you try to do that. And additionally, as I mentioned before, once we switch to Horizon, the gateway will stop serving queries to indexers that are running a version below whatever XYZ version is for Horizon, right? So if you do nothing, you will receive no queries, and you will not receive any new indexing rewards because you won't be able to create new allocations. Existing allocations, if you close them, you will get rewards, but that's it, right? So that's kind of like a breaking change on itself, and that's if no indexer upgrades, then the network it's gonna suffer, right? So again, important to upgrade. So next, sorry, reading the question. It's not just the software version. No traffic until indexer reallocates every allocation. I'm not sure I understand that question, Mark. Do you mean? I see you're typing.
Yeah, well, my understanding is that upgrading the software, the indexer agent software, is not sufficient. The indexers still need to close every legacy allocation and open new allocations to Horizon. Until then, the gateway won't be sending in traffic to the indexer. Is that correct?
That's no longer correct. I think it was correct at some point during like our development, but that's no longer the case. So the gateway will send queries for these legacy allocations, so allocations created before Horizon. The gateway will serve queries for those allocations as long as you are running the required minimum version of the stack. Right.
Okay, that's good.
That's
And is it because the new version will be doing reallocation in the background, or it's just that the gateway will be important enough to work with? So as long as the new software, I guess is the service software is upgraded.
So the reason is the gateway doesn't really care or know whether an allocation is like legacy or Horizon. So if there is an open allocation, it will send a query. But the gateway also has this filter for indexer stack version. So if you are running an old indexer version, then you are excluded from the gateway algorithm. So it doesn't have to do with the type of allocation, but more so with that software version filter. And then on that other thing you mentioned, like the reallocation happening, I think I mentioned it on the previous slide. One of the things we added almost last minute was the ability for the indexer agent to automatically reallocate for you. Let me walk back. So if you have a legacy allocation open and it reaches like its expiration, and obviously provided that you have your indexer set on auto mode and not manual, the indexer agent will close your legacy allocation. It will get the stake from that allocation, like move it into the subgraph service, and it will recreate your allocation over there, like the new type of allocations, same as if you would, had reallocated, but it switching from the legacy to the Horizon allocations. So
Okay.
that should happen automatically behind the scenes.
Does it work with the oversight mode as well?
The what? Sorry.
Yeah, there's an indexer agent has a oversight mode where it creates actions, and the actions needs to be approved by a user.
Yes.
So it's not fully automated. Okay.
Yes,
okay,
it
great.
should work. Yeah, actually, like this automation hook is tied to the reallocate action. So any flow using the agent that goes through like a reallocation process should should do this automatically.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, back to the slides here. Yeah, so next thing I wanted to highlight, what happens if you do upgrade your stack, but you don't have 100,000 GRT unallocated on your stake. The indexer agent will start like in Horizon mode, but it like not really, because it won't be able to create the provision for the subgraph service, so it won't be able to do allocation management for you. It won't be able to do like this automatic migration. So essentially, in this scenario, you will be in the same scenario as what I described before. Like you won't be able to create new allocations, and you won't receive, or eventually you will stop receiving queries, right? So it's important that you either have that 100K unallocated stake, or that you manually create the provision, which can be done, but I mean, the agent does that for you. So yeah, that's the recommended approach. Next, what happens if you do upgrade your stack, but you don't switch to the temporary new network subgraph? I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. It's probably going to crash horribly. I don't expect most of the functionality to work in this case. So that's like an important consideration. Like we do need to point the new stack to the temporary network subgraph. That's important. Okay, another important thing to mention. Actually, once the upgrade goes live, there is like a transition period, which is the duration is still to be determined, but it's going to be likely 1 to 2 months. And there are some special rules that apply if you want to unstake during this period. I don't want to get into that because it's quite it gets quite technical and complex very fast. But if you are planning on unstaking during that period, there's a specific section on the material that I linked that goes through this. And obviously, like if you have any questions later, then you can either talk to us or post the questions in Discord, and we'll get there. But that's something to keep in mind, that if you plan on doing that, there are some specific things I need to watch out for and be careful. And finally, I think this is the last slide. Two things I wanted to hit about allocation management and lifecycle. You might remember from previous presentations or GIPs or forum posts that Horizon allows for allocations to be long-lived, meaning that you don't need to close them as long as you present POIs periodically. That's still the case, but for simplicity and in order to keep the behavior as close to the current way, to the current protocol as much as possible, like we decided to continue with that 28 epoch cycle. So the indexer agent will continue to work on that cadence for the time being. Future versions of the indexer stack might change that. But for now, we are sticking with that. We don't want to change too much too soon. An important thing to highlight here, and this is like perhaps the biggest difference in terms of allocation management, is that if an allocation in the current version of protocol, if an allocation goes over 28 epochs, like it becomes like stale, and anyone can go and close it with a 0 POI, and that will deny rewards for indexer. But if the allocation is over 28 epochs old and the indexer closes it with a valid POI, they will get the rewards. That's no longer going to be the case on Horizon. Like if your allocation is over 28 epochs, no matter who's closing the allocation, no matter the validity of the POI that you're using, rewards will be denied. That's an important distinction. Something that I think it has been mentioned throughout all the Horizon development, but I think it's worth highlighting again, in case we don't want to catch any indexer unaware. If you are concerned about losing rewards because I don't know, sometimes operational issues happen, the allocation lifetime property can be adjusted on the indexer agent rules to set a shorter lifetime essentially for the allocation, allowing for more time to react in case anything goes wrong. So that's one thing. And then the other is in terms of POI requirements when closing an allocation. This is all managed by the agent automatically, but I think I wanted to highlight today, when you close an allocation, you only present a POI, which is like the raw POI hashed with indexer address. Horizon will require you to also present like the normalized POI, which is the POI hashed with a 0 address, and also the block height at which the POIs are calculated. This is mostly to help arbitration. It makes the arbitration process easier, and for the most part, this is handled by the agent, so nothing to worry about. But if you are closing allocations manually, or if you're using the indexer tools that allow you to close allocations manually or set custom POIs, then this is one of the things that we need to change. Okay, and finally, I think we're almost on time. I also see several questions in the chat. Let me. How, if I close after 29 epochs, do I still get rewards calculated for the 28 epochs? You will get no rewards. Query fees are on a different track. Yeah, you will always receive query fees as long as you serve those when the gateway sends. Delegation and payment cuts are set at a data service level. Yes, you can have different parameters or different cuts for different data services. Josh, I see you have a lot of questions. Info on how other data services will receive a portion of issuance. Horizon is not changing anything related to issuance. That's like on a parallel track. Yeah, I don't think we have too much time left, but for now, nothing is changing. Adding new data services, is it permissionless? Yes, it is. Like anyone can deploy a contract using the Horizon core primitives. Who defines the required stake to be on a new data service? That's a requirement set by the data service contract. So a new data service might require 0 GRT or 1 million or whatever. The staking core will make sure that whatever the data service defines is enforced. In the future, is there a way for a delegator to simply delegate to an indexer and the indexer can allocate that stake as they see fit among services? That's definitely something that can be built on top of Horizon. Like the primitives are there, but it's not a part of Horizon now. So delegators will also need to delegate. When they delegate, they need to specify the indexer, but also the data service. By default, an existing delegation will be like migrated automatically to the subgraph data service. But going forward, any new delegation needs to also specify to what data service they want to delegate to. And the reason for that is that since data services are permissionless, like it would be very easy for an indexer to roll their own hack data service where they steal the delegator's stake. Is the thaw period the same across all services? No, that's like every data service can define their own thawing period. Oh, sorry, I'm going through the questions. Okay, these dates are mainnet or testnet. Yeah, so let me get back to what's on screen. When Horizon, these are the dates for testnet. Sorry, I forgot to add that key vital information here. This is for testnet. So next week, we're starting the upgrade on testnet, phases 1, 2, and 3 on October 6th. We will have like a short couple of days where we test things internally before we call for public or community indexers to join the effort. That's mainly to catch any obvious bugs. Like we've done quite a bit of testing, but new environment, anything can happen. So once we do the upgrade, this is next Monday, I believe. We'll have a couple of days to do that. Then we will have like a small group of indexers that I think the foundation is already contacted or working with, we'll do like 1 week-ish of closed testing in a way. I mean, it's not closed because the protocol is public, right? So anyone could join, but we will focus on that test group. And then the week after that, so October 15 to 22, there like anyone is welcome to join. We will also provide testing documentation, like scenarios or things that we would like indexers to test. And one thing to note here is that if you want to follow along the upgrade, sort of like in practicing for mainnet, we can only go from phase 3 to phase 4 once. So, and these are the dates. So if you miss these dates, this window, then there is no way for us to go back. So if this is something that you want to test, be sure to pay attention to these dates and join on those dates. Finally, October 22nd, we execute the last phase of the upgrade, and we essentially have Horizon live on testnet. Yeah, important distinction, on testnet. And that's all I had. Let me see if there are any other questions here. It would be great if you had to present a POI in order to open an allocation. That's an interesting idea. We can definitely explore that in the future. And that's, in a way, that's sort of what Dips is doing, but not really. But yeah. True. How, yeah. You can serve queries for historical data. Yeah. Time travel. Okay, I watching the chats if there are other questions, but if anyone wants to also like ask live. One thing I'm not sure if I mentioned here. Yeah. So I haven't talked with Abel or Arjun about this, but 2 weeks from now, like before we do like open testing on testnet, it might be worth having another session here at IOH where we go over the test plan documentation and the scenarios and all of that. So if that's something that is of interest, then we can definitely do that. I would be like October 14th. How many indexers out there not serving queries and getting paid? More than 0, which is not good. Thanks, Abel. Sergey asks, am I right in assuming that new allocations are long-lived and will present POIs each 28 epochs? Partially true. So allocations can be long-lived. This specific version of the agent will every 28 epochs will present the POI and then close the allocation and then create a new allocation. So that was to mimic the existing behavior as much as possible. If all testing goes well, and that's expected early November, when do you expect mainnet will go live? So if everything goes well, I expect we could be able to run like phases 1, 2, and 3 before DevConnect. So DevConnect, which is November 17th, will start that 3-week window or 4-week window where indexers need to upgrade. I do realize many indexers might be traveling for DevConnect or maybe not. Say hi if you do. So we might adjust based on that, but it won't be like the earliest we can start the upgrade on mainnet would be the week before DevConnect. Also, we need to time it with the end of the year, Christmas holidays and all of that. Like we don't. But somewhere during November, early December. Gemma, I use the agent to allocate in manual mode. Does that mean my allocations need to be closed every 28 days manually? You will need to close them if you want to get indexing rewards. Yeah, that's a good question. So even if you do manage in manual mode, you will still need to recycle those allocations manually, which is same as you should be doing today if you want, are operating that way. Yeah, carry on as normal for now. Okay, I don't see any new questions.
I'm not sure if you answered this, Thomas, but I see that Josh has been stealing my questions from Notion. Clearly, did you cover the question around like the calculus around how much collateral we need to like stake in order to claim our query fees on Horizon? Or was I daydreaming and missed it?
I must have missed that. Was that on like the long list of bullets?
Yeah, like Josh's list that he stole from my Notion somehow.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah, I completely missed this one. Ratio to be staked for fees collected. Who sets that ratio and how long? Good question. Let me find the document. Copy. Okay, so this document should be public. So essentially what we are doing is we are estimating in a way, like based on historical data, we are estimating what the like stake to query fees ratio looks like historically. If you go to that link, there is like a brief explanation on that. But basically, there is a GIP 51, I think, that used historical data to an estimated like an equivalent ratio to be around the like 1,000 like value ratio, and then on the Horizon GIP we also like suggested an approach using a formula that you can also go to the GIP and read that, and using that formula and taking like current values from the network, stake and delegation, that gives you a ratio of around 150, I think, or 100 to 200, something like that. So those are like the numbers we were playing with, and that's really like the like an upper bound, right? If we set anything below that, it's gonna be less restrictive in a way than it is now, even though there is no enforcement today, right? It's just like comparing the data. So what we're going for is for us ratio that is 1 order of magnitude smaller than those estimates. So that would be around 10, basically. The ratio would be 10, I think. I don't know if this was a very good explanation, but if you can access that document, there is like some explanation in there.
Perfect, thank you.
And that's one thing that, I mean, that's the initial value that we're setting. We tried to be like, not restrictive in terms of like not make it something like an additional thing that indexers need to worry about for now, but like the idea is that should be like more thought should be put into like setting that value to a correct or a value that benefits the network the most. So I suspect that more work and more thought will be put into that parameter after the upgrade. Okay. Okay. Glad this was useful. Again, 2 weeks from now, Abel, if everything goes to plan, I think we can probably have another session on testing specifically. I think that would be beneficial. And any question that pops up, yeah, feel free to drop the question over Discord. I will try to pay more attention than I usually do. Oh, I see a new question. Is the required frequency of POIs will be reduced in the future? Yes, definitely. That's another. So one of the initially with Horizon, we also wanted to cut the the 28 epoch clock or frequency with which POIs are presented in half. So we wanted to get those 28 epochs down to 14. And that's definitely something that we want to do as soon as possible. That ensures there's like the network is liveness. It's better liveness for the network. We decided against changing that with the upgrade because we wanted to keep the surface or the amount of changes as minimal as possible and try to mimic the behavior of the current network. That should also reduce the thawing requirements, as Derek mentions. So yes, that's something we want to do, and it's something that will be on the agenda like shortly after the upgrade. We just didn't want to do again too much too soon.
Alrighty. Any more questions?
Last call.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, so I'm assuming we don't have any. But if you guys do have any questions, just give us a shout. Yeah, and just to confirm, I will definitely get you guys scheduled in for the 14th of October. I can message you on Slack and we can figure out the details there. As I said, anyone interrupt me if there are any burning questions. If not, I just want to say a massive thank you to Tomas for first of all taking us through this presentation, but then also working on what sounds like a very difficult project. It must have taken a long time to build all of that. So yeah, just want to extend the thanks to you and your team for that hard work and effort. Maybe any final thoughts, Tomas, before we wrap up?
No, I'm lost for words. Yeah, anything comes to mind? Any questions? Anything, thoughts? You know where to find us.
Perfect. There you go. You heard it here first. Thank you everyone for joining for today's IOH. I hope you guys found that helpful. And as we said, we'll have follow-up sessions on this. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we look forward to seeing you again same time next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.